Announce to all the people all over the world. Look at our saints, their bodies are immortal. Only Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the creator of the human body, can do this miracle. Proof that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, created the human body and that he alone has the power to perform this miracle. Saint Francis Xavier was born into a very prominent family in the Navarre, Spain on April 7, 1507. His mother was the heiress of the houses of Azpilcueta and Xavier. His father Don Juan de Jasso was a counselor to the King of Navarre. Francis was the youngest of several brothers, all of whom pursued careers in the military. Francis, having a more gentle nature, was sent by his parents in 1525 to study scholastic philosophy at the College of Saint Barbara in Paris. In Paris in 1525, Francis met fellow student Peter Faber and later in 1529 the man who would change both their lives, Saint Ignatius Loyola. Having won over the two young men with his friendship, Saint Ignatius revealed his plan to form an order, the Society of Jesus, in 1534. Saint Ignatius, Xavier Faber and 4 others who had joined Lain Salmeron Rodriguez and Bobadilla took first vows. Xavier and the others continued to teach in Paris until 1536, when they departed for Venice. In Venice, Xavier devoted himself to serving the sick at hospitals for the poor. On June 24 of July he received holy orders with Saint Ignatius. Xavier then went to Rome to work for the church, where he remained until 1539. In 1540 he received an appointment from the King of Portugal to sail to the East Indies to evangelize the people there. On April 1541 he embarked in a sailing vessel for India and after a tedious and dangerous voyage landed at Goa 6 May 1542. The first 5 months he spent in preaching and ministering to the sick in the hospitals. He would go through the streets ringing a little bell and inviting the children to hear the word of God. When he had gathered a number he would take them to a certain church and would there explain the catechism to them. About October 1542 he started for the pearl fisheries of the extreme southern coast of the peninsula, desirous of restoring Christianity, which, although introduced years before, had almost disappeared on account of the lack of priests. He devoted almost 3 years to the work of preaching to the people of Western India, converting many and reaching in his journeys even the island of Ceylon. Many were the difficulties and hardships which Xavier had to encounter at this time, sometimes on account of the cruel persecutions which some of the petty kings of the country carried on against the neophytes, and again because the Portuguese soldiers, far from seconding the work of the saint, retarded it by their bad example and vicious habits. In the spring of 1545 Xavier started for Malacca. He labored there for the last months of that year, and although he reaped an abundant spiritual harvest, he was not able to root out certain abuses and was conscious that many sinners had resisted, left Malacca and went to Molucca Islands, where the Portuguese had some settlements. And for a year and a half he preached the gospel to the inhabitants of Amboina, Ternate, Baranura and other lesser islands which it has been difficult to identify. It is claimed by some that during this expedition he landed on the island of Mindanao. And for this reason Saint Francis Xavier has been called the first apostle of the Philippines. But although this statement is made by some writers of the 17th century and in the bull of canonization issued in 1623, by July 1547 he was again in Malacca. Here he met a Japanese called Anger Hansir, from whom he obtained much information about Japan. His zeal was at once aroused by the idea of introducing Christianity into Japan, but for the time being the affairs of the society demanded his presence at Goa, whither he went, taking Anger with him during the 6 years that Xavier had been working among the infidels. Other Jesuit missionaries had arrived at Goa sent from Europe by Saint Ignatius. Moreover, some who had been born in the country had been received into the society. In 1548 Xavier sent these missionaries to the principal centers of India where he had established missions so that the work might be preserved and continued. He also established novitiate and house of studies, and having received into the society Father Cosme de Torres, a Spanish priest whom he had met in the Moluccas, he started with him and Brother Juan Fernandez for Japan towards the end of June 1549. The Japanese Anger who had baptized at Goa and given the name of Pablo de Santa Fe accompanied them. They landed at the city of Kagoshima in Japan the 15th of August 1549. The entire first year was devoted to learning the Japanese language and translating into Japanese with the help of Pablo de Santa Fe. The principal articles of faith and short treatises which were to be employed in preaching and catechism. When he was able to express himself, Xavier began preaching and made some converts, but these aroused the ill will of the bonzes who had him banished from the city, leaving Kagoshima. About August 1550 he penetrated to the center of Japan and preached the gospel in some of the cities of southern Japan. Towards the end of that year he reached Miko, then the principal city of Japan, but he was unable to make any headway here because of the dissensions them rending the country. He retraced his steps to the center of Japan and during 1551 preached in some important cities, forming the nucleus of several Christian communities which in the time increased with extraordinary rapidity. After working about 2 years and a half in Japan, he left this mission in charge of Father Cosme de Torres and Brother Juan Fernandez and returned to Goa, arriving there at the beginning of 1552. Here domestic troubles awaited him. Certain disagreements between the superior who had been left in charge of the mission and the rector of the college had to be adjusted. This, however, being arranged, Xavier turned his thoughts to China and began to plan an expedition there. During his stay in Japan he had heard much of the Celestial Empire, and though he probably had not formed a proper estimate of its extent and greatness, he nevertheless understood how wide a field it afforded for the spread of the light of the gospel. With the help of friends he arranged a commission or embassy to the sovereign to China, obtained from the Viceroy of India the appointment of ambassador, and in April 1552 he left Goa. At Malacca the party encountered difficulties because the influential Portuguese disapproved of the expedition, but Xavier knew how to overcome this opposition, and in the autumn he arrived in a Portuguese vessel at the small island of Sancian near the coast of China. While planning the best means for reaching the mainland he was taken ill, and as the movement of the vessel seemed to aggravate his condition he was removed to the land. When rude hut had been built to shelter him. In these wretched surroundings he breathed his last. In 1552 he set sail to begin the first Christian mission in China. When he arrived, however, he was not allowed to disembark on the mainland. For 3 months he waited on an island off of Canton while trying to gain entry into the country. He died on the island of an acute illness at the age of 46. On December 1553 Xavier's body was shipped to Goa. The mostly incorruptible body is now in the Basilica of Bom Jesus in Goa, where it was placed in a glass container encased in a silver casket on the 2nd of December 1637. It is truly a matter of wonder that one man in the short space of 10 years, the 6th of May to the 2nd of December 1552, could visited so many countries, traversed so many seas, preached the gospel to so many nations, and converted so many infidels. The incomparable apostolic zeal which animated him and the stupendous miracles which God wrought through him explain this marvel which has no equal elsewhere. The list of the principal miracles may be found in the Bull of Canonization. Saint Francis Xavier is considered the greatest missionary since the time of the apostles, and the zeal he displayed, the wonderful miracles he performed, and the great number of souls he brought to the light of true faith, entitle him to this distinction. He was canonized with Saint Ignatius in 1622, although on account of the death of Gregory XV. Saint Francis Xavier fainted after saying Mass on November 21 and later died on December 2, 1552. He was first buried on the Chinese island Shangchuandao, but was later transferred to St. Paul Church in Malacca, Malaysia. On December 11, 1553, his incorrupt body was moved to the Basilica of Bom Jesus in Goa, India. It was placed in a silver casket on December 2, 1637. The casket is only available for public viewing on occasion, most recently in 1994. Saint Francis Xavier is remembered for confounding the Society of Jesus, for his great zeal for the faith and for his dedication to carrying the faith to the ends of the earth. It has been said he baptized more people to Christianity than anyone since St. Paul. The body of Saint Francis Xavier is still enshrined at Goa in the church which formerly belonged to the Society in 1614. By order of Claudius Aquaviva, General of the Society of Jesus, the right arm was severed at the elbow and conveyed to Rome, where the present altar was erected to receive it in the Church of the Jesu. John 14:11. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me. Or else believe me for the very work's sake. John 14:11. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me. Or else believe me for the very work's sake. Psalms 96:3. Tell of his glory among the nations, his wonderful deeds among all the peoples. Psalms 98:1. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm has gotten him the victory.